If you thought there was a log jam in Congress before, just wait. There will be a 0-vote margin for Republicans in the House if progressives upset Republicans in a Tennessee district Donald Trump won by 22 points last fall.
My opponent wants to defund the police. She was out filming her bullying and harassing ICE and the Tennessee Highway Patrol as a sitting state legislator. That is disqualifying. It's totally unacceptable. She wants to abolish prisons, so I guess she just wants criminals to be roaming the streets. She wants new and higher taxes to fund her socialist agenda. She's been endorsed by the Democrat Socialists of America.
Here with us now to discuss former Biden White House advisor Yemisi Egbewale and Republican strategist Luke Ball Yemisi. There is a playbook for Democrats that just worked in Virginia and in New Jersey. Just try to convince voters that Democrats are the party of affordability. Is that going to work this week?
The big A. Well, it seems to be working. I mean, it's crazy that she's pulling so closely in a district that Representative Green won by plus 20 just a year ago. I mean, I think if she sticks to the talking points that the Democratic Party has agreed upon, especially going into the midterms, she will do fine. I think the issue is that she has made past statements that seem to combat against a lot of the work in progress that the Tennessee Democrats are doing rallying around her.
And it seems like when she does press, progressive-leaning hosts, liberal hosts, are actually challenging her on some of these past statements that she's made.
Yeah.
Luke, what do you think? Is the playbook that worked earlier this month in New Jersey and Virginia, where just it's affordability, 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 is that going to work for the Dems? Could a Democrat win here?
Well, first of all, we shouldn't be in this position. We're in this position because a Republican member of Congress is retiring early. And I'm sick of people in my own party acting like they got sent to Azkaban because they got elected to Congress. Like, actually represent your constituents well, finish out the full term, be a team player, and then you can air your grievances. Now, to your question, she was asked multiple times this morning on an interview about past statements, about whether or not she'd vote for Hakeem Jeffries or support the current leadership. And she pivoted every single time to affordability. It was almost comical that she would completely dodge the question and pivot to affordability. So to your question about it, if it doesn't work, then the Democrats don't have their game plan set for the midterm elections, because that's the messaging she seems to have focused on.
And you mentioned that interview that she did this morning, Afton Bain, the candidate. She would not commit to backing Hakeem Jeffries as Democratic leader or as speaker. Listen to this.
If you had a chance to, would you vote for Hakeem Jeffries as speaker?
We represent very different districts, and I've got 48 hours to flip a congressional district and really send a message to Washington, like I said, that they need to get serious about healthcare costs. Honestly, I haven't thought about it.
Hasn't thought about Hakeem Jeffries. Then who's the leader of the Democratic Party in the House?
You know, I think she has struggled through a couple of interviews. I mean, what she really should focus on right now is how she convinces people that live in her district that she's okay with country music, because I think that was the most egregious thing.
That's what upset me the most.
Saying you don't like country music when you're in Nashville. That was not on the money there.
Less media discipline than when she's talking about affordability. Luke, there is a really interesting New York Times item this week where it talks about how, Donald Trump, who has an influence over every election, whether he's on the ballot or not, there's not much Gen Z resistance to Trump. It's a lot of older folks that are protesting him and really motivated against him. And yet, there's a Rasmussen item this week, a poll suggesting that 51% of young people want a Democratic Socialist to win in 2028. If that's the mood in this country, how does that play in Tennessee?
Well, for the Democrats, it's indicative of the identity crisis they face in their own party. Do they want to go the party of JFK or the party of USSR? There's these two different factions that are pulling at one another. To your point about Republicans and the Gen Z vote, I remember just a few elections ago when it was the majority, the 75% of Gen Z and some millennials who were trending towards the Democrats. So something was winning there, but it was also interesting. It was only about 20% of the vote that would actually turn out an election. So it seems as if this vote is getting older and registering, figuring out what Social Security is and perhaps what Fannie Mae is if they can afford a home. And then they're trending a little bit more towards maybe the more affordability issue, that economic messaging. So as you start to see some of these seniors pivot away, it is a curious trend. And I'd be interested to see just how they break tomorrow, or in the next couple of days, rather, for the special election, because in that poll, that Emerson College poll, that was kind of a shock, they did trend a little bit heavier towards the Republican, but not as much as you would expect.
And before we go, with our last minute, I want to ask you about another big policy announcement from the president this week. He said he's hereby canceling all executive orders and anything else that was not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden because the people who operated the auto pen did so illegally. Yeah, Missy, why do you use the auto pen so much? You were there.
He used the auto pen, and you know what I'm going to say, like all past presidents, Obama, Trump, and Bush have used. House Oversight looked into the auto pen. I mean, I don't know if he wants other committees in Congress to look into it, but at this point, I think going into the holidays, maybe folks want him to focus on something a little bit more closer to affordability.
What do you think, Luke?
The auto pen is fine if the president authorized the document to be signed, and that's the big if. And I just think back to that Mike Johnson story where he was asking the president, why did you pause export on liquefied natural gas? And the president said, I didn't do that. I didn't do that repeatedly. And then Mike Johnson said, you did. And when Biden realized, oh, you're talking about LNG exports, that was just a study or something of that nature. He didn't know what he had signed. And my question is, how many of those documents like that went through the auto pen?